23rd session of the Senate in the second regular session of the 17th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Juan Miguel Mig Subiri will lead us in prayer.
Lord Jesus, we bow our heads in prayer. Lord God, please guide us today, the work that we have to do to help our countrymen uplift their lives. In today's very factual world, we ask for your guidance and your support. Give us good judgment, O Lord, and help us the day-to-day activities that will be relevant to our people. This we ask. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Secretary, please call the roll.
The Honorable Senator Sangara, Aquino, Binay, Dilima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Hunasan, Ontiveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Soveri, Senate President Pimentel.
With 21 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum.
Mr. President,
Majority Leader.
with the permission of the chamber, I move to resume consideration. I'm sorry, Mr. President, I am jumping ahead of the horse. I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 22nd session, Tuesday, September 19, 2017, and consider the same as approved.
Is there any objection to the motion? The chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. President, would like to acknowledge guests of the Senate. We have the Deputy Ombudsman Gerard Mosquera with us, Deputy Special Prosecutor of the Office of the Ombudsman, Attorney Omar Sagadal, and the guests of Senator Pangilinan and Senator Ejercito, Sangguniang Bayan of San Isidro, Province of Isabela, headed by Vice Mayor Leonardo Tumamao, the guests of Senator Subiri, Nicole Fatima Castillo and family, the family of Mr. Horacio Castillo, Councilor Buboy Fernandez of Pulangi, Bicol, the Philippine hockey team, and also guests of Senator, together with Ms. Rita Castillo, also, Mr. President, and then the Bachelor of Technical Teacher Education students of Marikina Polytechnic College, Political Science and Social Work students of Columban College, Olongapo City, headed by Professor Desiree Anonat and Professor Jefferson Sadera. I would like to welcome them to the Senate, Mr. President.
Welcome to the Senate to all of our guests, and we extend our condolences to the Castillo family.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the permission of the body, I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill 1584 under Committee Report 163.
Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, this is the measure postponing the barangay and SK elections. The parliamentary status of the measure is that yesterday we've already closed the period of interpellations and proceeded with the individual amendments by the Minority Leader, the Senate President Pro Temp, and then we directed the Secretariat to distribute clean copies of the measure to serve as reference for other senators who may wish to introduce the individual amendments. Now, and so may I therefore move to resume the period of individual amendments, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? There being none, we are now in the period of individual amendments for this measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we recognize the Minority Leader to introduce more amendments, and then the President Pro Tem for another amendment, Mr. President.
So, before I recognize the gentlemen involved, may I request for complete silence in the hall, please, as we are going to amend a very important piece of legislation. So, Senator Gordon, as sponsor, is recognized, and the Minority Leader, Senator Drilon, is also recognized for amendment.
Mr. President, we have an amendment on page 2, line 24. Our amendment is to delete the phrase within 30 days after the next barangay election and substitute the same with not later than July 31, 2018, comma. Allow us to explain this, Mr. President. The last sentence on section 3, which is lines 23 to 26 of page 2, will now read as follows. The Liga ng mga barangay at the municipal, city, and provincial level shall, not later than July 31, 2018, conduct elections for the ex-officio positions in the Sanggunians under the supervision of the Department of Interior and Local Governments. The rationale for this amendment, Mr. President, is that the barangay officials and the Sangguniang Kabataan officials will assume office at
Just a small
noon
point of order,
June.
Mr. Chairman. With all due respect to my distinguished colleague, may I request for silence because it's, I'd like to hear the amendments, and there are so many murmurings going on around here. May I request that, Your Honor?
The chair repeats his request for complete silence in the hall.
Yes,
Thank you. Go
yes,
ahead.
I will repeat the amendment for the consideration of the sponsor. To repeat, my amendment will be to delete on page 2, line 24, the phrase within 30 days after the next barangay election, and in lieu thereof, replace it with the phrase not later than July 31, 2018, so that lines, the last sentence of section 3, which is on lines 23 to 26, will now read as follows. If the amendment is approved, the Liga ng mga barangay at the municipal, city, and provincial levels shall, not later than July 31, 2018, conduct elections for ex-officio positions in the Sanggunians under the supervision of the Department of Interior and Local Government. The reason for this amendment, Mr. President, is that the newly elected officials of the May 2000, the newly elected barangay officials and Sangguniang Kabataan officials will be elected in the May 2018 election will only assume their office on June 30, 2018. As presently worded, there can be the barangay officials and the Sangguniang Kabataan have not yet assumed office and therefore cannot elect the ex-officio officials.
It's a very good amendment, Your Honor. We will accept it.
All right.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the amendment is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President, Senator Trillanes informed me that he will no longer interpolate. It seems that most of the issues were already covered. So with that amendment, I move to close the period of individual amendments.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
just have a few individual amendments, if I may.
I withdraw my motion, Mr. President.
With apologies, Mr. Chairman. Sana una. On the title, Your Honor, that is on page 1, the title, we will add. I beg the indulgence of the sponsor, Mr. President. If there are other amendments, may I suggest that the usual procedure is that we amend the title after all the amendments are introduced. If the sponsor will allow, Mr. President. Let's go to the other amendments first.
If there are amendments to the body,
Okay,
we
Your Honor.
we amend first the body.
Thank you.
Thank you for correcting me, Your Honor. I accept the correction and being chastised by the majority floor leader. Thank you. On page 23, on page 3, line 26, Your Honor, of the clean copy of the committee report, delete the phrase, O codes 30, and then the numerals, open parenthesis 30, close parenthesis, quotes, and replace with the phrase, quotes 15, open parenthesis 15, numerical, close quotes. The reason for this, Your Honor, is because we have really no more time to waste, Your Honor, because it is too long. It would really put pressure on the COMELEC, Your Honor.
Can we make it 10?
We're making it 15, Your Honor.
Okay. So that's section 8, sir, no? Section 8? So that...
Section 8, Your Honor.
Yeah, so that we can follow you. Okay. Is there any objection?
15 days. 15 days.
There being none, the amendment is approved. Did you get it?
All right, Your Honor, the last amendment, Your Honor, is the one on the title, if I may. The one on the title will now read, Your Honor. Which one is it? Ito?
Yes, sir.
This is ito?
No, sir, we just...
Within 15.
We will add, after the third line of the title, after the words Republic Act Number 9340, comma, we will add Republic Act Number 10632, Your Honor, so that it will now read as follows. An act postponing the October 2017 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 9164 as amended by Republic Act Number 9340, Republic Act Number 10632, Republic Act Number 10656, and Republic Act Number 10923, and for other purposes. That is all, Your Honor.
For the record, sir, what is the subject matter of that Republic Act that we are inserting into the title?
1 minute suspension, Your Honor.
Session suspended.
Postponing the 2013 SK election.
Ano siya yan? Ito? May we resume, Your Honor?
Postponement of the 2013.
Session is resumed.
The subject matter, Your Honor, is the matter of an act to postpone the Sangguniang Kabataan elections, and that was Republic Act Number 10632.
Okay.
And the title there is an act to postpone the Sangguniang Kabataan elections on October 28, 2013, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 9340, and for other purposes, Your Honor.
So is there any objection to the amendment which amends the title? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. That will be all.
Mr. Sponsor, the Secretariat has pointed out to me that since we amended the title, don't we feel the need also to amend the heading of Section 1, which enumerates also some Republic Act numbers?
Yes, Your Honor, I think we should do that as well. Thank you very much.
So,
Section 1 will just read the same as this.
Section 1 will read
The same as the title.
practically the same as the title, Your Honor.
so we will now insert, the motion is to insert, what is the number?
To insert Republic
Republic Act number 10632 after the phrase Republic Act number 9340. Tama? Tama ba yun? That's correct.
It is an omnibus.
Okay, so
it
is
is an
there-
omnibus amendment, Your Honor.
Okay, is there any objection to amend the omnibus, Mr. Sponsor, sections 1 and sections 2? Sections 1 and 2 will be amended.
Yes, Your Honor. It's an omnibus amendment to
Okay,
cover
so,
all these affected areas.
Any objection to the amendment as to style and insertion of the additional RA? Hearing none, the omnibus amendment is approved. Kuha nyo? Kuha nyo din? Dalawa? Two?
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Mr. President, just one more editorial amendment from the minority leader, Mr. President.
Senator Drilon.
Mr. President, at yesterday's session, we amended Section 1 and basically read into the record as our amendment the version of the House of Representatives in House Bill number 6308. However, the year on line 9P of page 1A of our version missed the year 2020 after May. So we propose that line 9P on page 1A be amended to insert the year 2020 between the words may and end.
Yes, Your Honor. Admitted, Your Honor.
So, any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Perfect.
Mr. President, I move to close the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none, we close the period of for individual amendments.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading Senate Bill 1584 under Committee Report 163.
Is there any objection? There being none, Senate Bill number 1584 is approved on second reading. Senator Drilon.
Mr. President, may I just explain our vote on second reading?
Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, we voted in the affirmative to approve on second reading Senate Bill 1584 because the majority in this chamber accepted our amendment to Section 3 of this bill. The amendment deleted the power of the President to remove, without any cost, barangay officials who would hold their positions in a holdover capacity. Our amendment therefore allowed the incumbent barangay officials to remain in their post in a holdover capacity until their successors should have been elected and qualified. If the President were given the power to appoint the OICs as originally provided in Section 3 of this bill, the President would have been given the power of control over the very basic local government unit, the barangays. Under Article 10, Section 4 of the Constitution, the President only has general supervision, not control, over the LGUs. There is no better way of controlling the barangays than converting the barangay officials as casual employees without any security of tenure if the President is given the power to appoint OICs as provided in the original Section 3 of Senate Bill 1584. Thus, the amendment that we have proposed, approved by this chamber to Section 3, would make this provision compliant with the Constitution. That is the reason why you have cast our affirmative vote, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Gordon?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I agree, and as I pointed out in my prefatory remarks in my sponsorship speech, I've always agreed with that position, and my position has always been that the President should not appoint. I bowed to my friends here when they asked me, and I think I've explained that well enough, and I think my position has always been clear on that matter, and I'm glad that this has been resolved amicably like a Senate must. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
And I talked to the President yesterday. He is not interested in such a power.
Yes, that's what I understand too,
That's
Your
what he told me. Senator Ontiveros is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wish to manifest that I will be voting against the measure and will explain my no vote when we cast our votes on third and final reading. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Trillanes, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the same manifestation. I will be voting negatively for this measure. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I am informed that if accurate, the President has signed a certification of urgency. It is on the way. If it gets here on time, we can vote for third reading. If not, we can do it on Monday. So in the meantime, that if we have not received any, I move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill 1584 under Committee Report 163.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, we suspend consideration.
In the meantime, Mr. President, I move to recognize Senator Mig Subiri to speak on a matter of personal interest, public interest, Mr. President.
Senator Subiri is recognized to speak on a matter of public interest.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege. I filed proposed Senate Resolution number 504, which condemns in the strongest sense the death of a UST freshman law student, Horacio Acho Castillo III, due to hazing, and a call for a Senate investigation in aid of legislation. I thought the resolution that I filed would be enough to assuage my sense of duty as a legislator to investigate this gruesome death. But when I visited the wake of Acho last night and talked to his bereaved family, particularly his father, Horacio Jr., or Toti, as we call him, who was my grade school and high school classmate in Colegio San Agustin, it behooves me as a father and as a parent to make a privileged speech on the matter by condemning this brutal act and bringing to the public consciousness the gravity of this evil called hazing. I cannot, Mr. President, turn my back to the plea of a grieving parent, as I believe no parent deserves to lose a child, much more due to hazing. When I saw my classmate, Toti, last night, he broke down and he told me, "They killed my son, Migs. They killed my son." And the mother of the victim, who was distraught, had wanted to know what really happened to her son. She told me, "Migs, I just want them to tell me how my son died. I just want to know, was he looking for his father or was he looking for his mother? I just want to know." She told me that. Those words haunted me, Mr. President, last night. Most of us here are parents with loving children, and I could not imagine the pain of losing a son or a daughter because of violence, because of hazing. I would feel that it would be the most tragic event to happen to me or my family, God forbid. And I, or we, do not wish this to happen to any parent or to any family. Mr. President, dear colleagues with us today, and probably you might have seen her during the committee hearings in the past weeks, as she has been my intern in my office for several weeks now, is Nicole Castillo, the only sister of Acho. She came here and left her brother's side when she learned that I'd be delivering a privileged speech on the death of her beloved Acho. And we would like to extend our deepest condolences to Nicole and her family. Acho, only son of Toti and Camille, was a loving and dutiful son and brother to Nicole. He was a student leader in the University of Santo Tomas during his undergraduate studies. He, by the way, Mr. President, was a fan of the Senate and reportedly told his father repeatedly that he wanted to be a senator one day. Now, I'm afraid that day will never come. We join the family in their cry for justice for Acho. Let justice be served in this case. I will briefly cite the circumstances leading to the death of Acho. On Saturday, September 16, Acho informed his parents that he will attend a welcoming ceremony of the Aegis Jury Fraternity in the University of Santo Tomas and will be home by Sunday morning. Come Sunday morning, initial report stated that Acho's body was discovered by a quote-unquote good Samaritan, John Paul Solano, on September 17 at about 7:30 a.m. in the sidewalk at the corner of Honorio Lopez Boulevard and Infanta Street in Balut, Tondo, Manila. As claimed by Mr. John Paul Solano, after buying a cigarette from a nearby store, he found the body of Acho in the sidewalk, flagged down by a passing pickup, and together with some bystanders, took Acho to the Chinese General Hospital, where the doctors declared him dead on arrival. The officials of Barangay 133 in Manila, however, dispute the accounts of John Paul Solano. They said that there was no such incident that happened in the area after reviewing the CCTV footage at the time the body was supposedly found. Thus, Mr. Solano became a person of interest, and the police later had learned that Mr. Solano is also a freshman law student at the University of Santo Tomas, and some reports claim he is also a member of the Aegis Jury Fraternity. That is so much coincidences, Mr. President, and it will be a breakthrough in the investigation if Mr. Solano will tell all he knows about the incident. Mr. President, the action of Dean Nilo Divina of the UST Faculty of Civil Law in suspending the members of the Aegis Juris Fraternity and preventing them from attending classes or entering the school premises is highly suspicious. It will give the investigators a hard time in locating and finding these members of the fraternity and ask them about what had happened during the incident. This was echoed by the Manila Police District officers in their press briefing this morning. Thus, I challenge Dean Divina and other faculty members of the UST Faculty of Law who are also members of the Aegis Juris to cooperate in the investigation and to tell all that they know about the incident. I have also received reports that the members of Aegis Juris Fraternity were told to leave the country, or probably some have already left the country. Thus, I call on our authorities to place them under a watch list or hold order departure today by the Bureau of Immigration, and I thank the DOJ. This just arrived in our office 30 minutes ago, Mr. President. A memorandum from the Secretary on an immigration lookout bulletin order against a certain Marvin R. Balag, Min Wei Chan, Mark Anthony Ventura, Axel Monroe Hipe, Oliver John Audrey Onofre, Joshua Joriel Macabali, Jason Adolfo Robinos, Ralph Trangia, Rani Rafael Santiago, Daniel Hans Matthew Rodrigo, Carl Matthew Villanueva, Aaron Salientes, Marcelino Bagtang, Zibon Padro, Jose Miguel Salamat, and John Paul Solano. Mr. President, no one, I repeat, no one deserves to die from hazing or any brutal and senseless death. We have a law, Republic Act 8049, or an act regulating hazing and other forms of initiation rites in fraternities, sororities, and other organizations, providing penalties thereof. Unfortunately, Mr. President, since its enactment into law in 1995, with dozens of reported deaths due to hazing, only one conviction has been decided by our courts. Only one. Other accounts place that there could be more than 100 deaths due to hazing, but the rest are not reported or have not reached the courts. So much senseless deaths, my dearest colleagues, so much wasted youth, and the bright future of these students suddenly gone, as was the case of Acho Castillo. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, we nurture our children from cradle. Teach them how to take their first steps as a child. Tutor them in their difficult subjects. We even teach them the difficult topics such as the birds and the bees, or how to treat their dates with respect. In other words, we do everything for them to become the perfect human being. Then in one instance, all that we have done, our bundle of joy is taken away from us. Tortured and killed by the same people who your child considers as his brothers and protectors. Mr. President, I cringe at the thought that the current law, RA 8049, has just become a law in paper, ineffective if not inutile in regulating and preventing deaths from hazing. I feel ashamed after all these years, while our youth are dying, we have not done enough. Clearly, regulating hazing as specified in the current law is a failure. What could be the reasons, Mr. President? One, the title of the measure. It regulates it. It doesn't prohibit it. As specified in Section 2 and 3 of Republic Act 8049, to report to school authorities the initiation rights and that the school will assign at least 2 representatives during the initiation or hazing. And this has not been followed. No fraternity will allow an intruder or non-member to witness their initiation rites and learn from their initiation. Thus, most of these rights are not reported to the school authorities. Second, when a crime such as this happens, the problem is worsened by the protection of the killers by the fellow fraternity members or brads in the police and the prosecutor's office and in the courts who sympathize with the fraternity's cause. That is why we have filed a bill repealing the anti-hazing law, replacing it with a stricter, more stringent law. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, I would like to take note, was the shepherd in the House of Representatives in the last Congress, and they had passed it there. It was us in the Senate who was not able to shepherd it out. The current bill, Mr. President, and I know a majority floor leader has been fighting this as well since the 15th Congress. The bill, Mr. President, differentiates from the law by banning or prohibiting under the bill, while the current law merely regulates it. As a result of the banning of hazing, the bill now penalizes the mere participation in hazing, while the current law only penalizes the participants if the hazing results to injury or death. Also, Mr. President, our bill, if hazing leads to death, sodomy, rape, or mutilation, the penalty is reclusion perpetua and a fine of 3 million is imposed. Hence, we appeal to my colleagues here today for the family of the Castillos and Servando and all the other families who have died senselessly due to hazing. We should pass this new and real anti-hazing law. When will these barbaric acts, Mr. President, of so-called brotherhood stop? When you're supposed to welcome them and protect them as family, not hurt them and kill them. No wonder the culture of violence never ends in our country, as those who swear an oath to defend our laws are the very same ones who commit the violence. This must stop now. No parent should bury their children from such senseless deaths from violence and crime. It's about time we prohibit hazing. We need to pass a new law that will not only regulate, but prevent it outright. Brotherhood or sisterhoods should not be realized at the expense of the lives and the future of our youth. We should stop this senseless death of our children. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, may we recognize the chairman of the Committee on Public Order? And then Senator Gordon, Senator Aquino, Senator Villanueva.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
Senator
President.
Gatchalian.
And then the lady senator is also
This is just a manifestation.
Senator Lacson is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a short manifestation. In anticipation of the privileged speech being referred to the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, I would like to manifest that provided that the gentleman from Bukidnon and the other members of this body who are as enthusiastic and passionate to pass the bills pending in your committee, I would like to enjoin them to provide the quorum when I call this for a hearing on Monday after the session. Because we have a full week ahead next week, budget hearings, Blue Ribbon, Commission on Appointments, other bills pending in the committee. So if I have the assurance that I will be provided with the quorum, then I will call a hearing on Monday at 6 o'clock in the evening, Mr. President.
I commit, Mr. President, that I
Thank you,
will be
Mr.
there,
President. That's all.
It's good news, Mr. President, because this is one law that begs to be passed. We filed it in the 15th Congress, the 16th Congress, the 17th Congress, and it's absolutely necessary, Mr. President. So may we now recognize Senator Dick Gordon.
Senator Gordon is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Many a time and oft, these incidents have occurred in our lifetimes. This representation is a member of a fraternity, the Upsilon Sigma Phi fraternity, as are all. Senator Drilon is a member of Sigma Rho, along with Senator Angara. Senator Pangilinan is a member of Upsilon. And of course, many of us, a couple of us are graduates, or 3 of us are graduates of the Academy. But they have not been exempted from tragedies such as this, Mr. President. Always when the death occurs, we all raise our hands in anger. And we deliver many, many speeches, and I'd like to be associated especially with the speech made by my good colleague, Senator Subiri. And I commend him for doing this so. But really, Mr. President, even in our own here, the brother of Senator Honasan, Mel, was killed in a hazing session in San Sebastian, in a fraternity there. My own son-in-law, the chairman of the Student Council of the University of the Philippines, Gian Sambalido, resigned from the Alpha Phi Beta fraternity when a hazing occurred that resulted in death. He consulted me and I said, it is your decision. Fraternities really start off, and I was asked by the aunt and uncle of Horacio just a while ago how this fraternity system started. It started out as a good thing. Mr. President, in the university, for an example, the Upsilon, and I can only speak for my fraternity, it was supposed to be University Scholars Fraternity. That's why it's Upsilon Sigma Phi fraternity. There were standards. You have to have a certain grade, level. Unfortunately, along the course of events, a lot of other fraternities spring out, and even the Upsilon itself has victimized one of us, or maybe 2 of us, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves correct. Even in the Ateneo, the Aquila Legis once had a problem, and some of our close colleagues, relatives and classmates are also involved in that. So it always strikes close to home, Mr. President. Even in the Academy, there have been cadets of the Philippine Military Academy who have been hazed to death. At one time, a shot put was dropped on the chest of a plebe, and he died, if I'm not mistaken. There have been other incidents in PNPA where people have been killed. And you will remember, even among the Philippine National Police, mga pulis na po yan ay hinahampas ang host, dinidemean, and these are things that certainly must never be encouraged and certainly must be punished immediately. Now, law after law has been filed in the Congress, Your Honor. And perhaps it's about time to take a look at the system in our schools. Are our schools really encouraging education? Are our schools really forgetting the fact that more than being in a good school and getting a network of friends, that when you graduate, meron kang network ng mga kaibigan sa fraternity o dun sa mga kaklase mo na makaka-succeed ka in life. And in the process, people are willing to go there, and in the process, people are willing to demean themselves by hurting their own fellow man, fatally, at many instances in the past. Perhaps it is now time for the schools to start thinking in terms of using the energies of youth towards more productive endeavors. You know, like debates, teaching them how to be humanitarian citizens of this country, providing, as we used to do in UP, yung ating tinatawag na pinaghuwisan, and sending them off like the Peace Corps in provinces as we still do with our doctors for the barrios, and even our doctors for the barrios are killed, Mr. President. So there's really something wrong. May mali. At hindi natin nakikita. Oftentimes, we think we can solve it with the law. But we must stifle and remove the culture of barbarism among the youth. It is time our teachers teach not just the 3 R's in grade school, or for that matter, the great sciences and the great pursuits of law and other disciplines. It is time that we also teach them leadership. And leadership is uplifting other people to become better than what they are. Not to go and debase themselves and become beast, mga tao na nagpapahirap sa ibang tao. And that is why this has proliferated, Mr. President. And so, Mr. President, on this occasion, I rise with a heavy heart once again. I've seen it before. The mother of Lenny Villa, who comes from Zambales, who owns Victory Diner, whose father is a Sigmaron, a friend of ours, along with Senator Dillon, Romy Villa, who was killed in an initiation in an Ateneo fraternity. She never stops to remind me about these things, and it comes close to home all the time. But to remove the fraternity system may be the quick way. The harder way is to try and harness the energies of youth under the supervision of professors in school, of teachers in school, starting from grade school, to teach them from the very beginning that respect for their fellow men, avoiding physical abuse, and above all, trying to raise one another, helping one another in acts of charity, not almsgiving, but acts of kindness, to remove the satanic influence in our lives and to put, as Lincoln said, the better angels in our system. Mr. President, I would like to condole with the family of this young man who could have been a lawyer like us, and there are lawyers amongst us, and we're lucky that we had parents and we had schools and we had friends that we were able to avoid all these things. And so, to Horacio Castillo III, rest well. Your death will not just be remembered, we will try to learn from it, and we will try to spread the good news of real fraternity, love for your brother, and be your brother's keeper in the right way. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Mr. President, may we recognize Senator Bam Aquino.
Senator Aquino is recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Majority Floor Leader. Just a manifestation, not really questions for our dear colleague. Unang-una po sa lahat, gusto ko magpasalamat kay Senator Zubiri sa kanyang talumpati. Isa po itong issue na malapit rin po sa aking puso. Hindi ko po kilala ang Castillo family, no? Pero ito pong mga issue ng kabataan talagang malapit po sa akin, at kapag merong karahasan na ginagawa po sa ating kabataan, talaga po itong isang bagay na dapat pong matigil na sa ating bansa. I also filed a resolution today regarding this issue. So, Senator Lacson, we will be attending your hearing on Monday. Doon po sa aking resolution, may nakalagay po doon, na research po namin, meron na pong 22 deaths in 25 years, no? Since 1995. 26 deaths in 22 years. No? And 1995 po, naging batas yung Anti-Hazing Act. And since then, we've had 26 deaths. These are 26 needless deaths. Because kapag yung sinasabi pong magkakapatid ang gumagawa ng karahasan sa isa't isa, talagang needless po yan. At hindi ho talaga kinakailangan, wala pong rason, wala pong justification na pwede po mangyari ang ganyang klaseng pagpapatayan sa ating bansa. Now, Senator Zubiri said a line which struck me in his privileged speech, and that was the line, culture of violence. Kultura ng karahasan. At meron po tayong kultura ng karahasan sa ating bayan. Makikita po siya sa kalsada, makikita po siya sa mga eskwelahan, gaya po nakita natin kay Mr. Castillo, makikita po natin siya sa internet. At kailangan na pong matigil itong kultura ng karahasan. At siguro po, tayo pong mga pinuno, pwede ho tayong manguna na at bawasan ang kultura ng karahasan na yan sa pamamagitan ng pagkakaroon ng isang mas matibay na anti-hazing law. And if in any way we can help lessen this culture of violence in our country, we should do so. And it is just very unfortunate, Mr. President, na itong mga panahon na tumitindig tayo laban sa karahasan ay kadalasan kapag meron na pong namatay na. So sana po, sa pagkakataong ito, magkasama-sama na naman po tayo, labanan po itong kultura ng karahasan at sana po wala na po muling kabataan na mamamatay sa ating bansa na ganito po yung mga circumstances. No? So, Mr. President, I'd just like to again congratulate Senator Zubiri for his speech and of course extend my deepest condolences to the Castillo family. Maraming salamat, Mr. President.
Senator Joel Villanueva, Mr. President.
Senator Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Floor Leader. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, we'd like to extend our deepest sympathies to the family of my fellow Tomasian. Mr. President, I would just like to make a short manifestation in support of Senator Zubiri's privileged speech regarding the death of young Horacio Castillo III, or Acho, as he was called by his family and friends. This unfortunate death has shaken me, Mr. President, to my very core, both as an alumnus of the University of Santo Tomas and as a civil servant. I certainly condemn this senseless act of violence and join Mr. Castillo's family in mourning for his death that not only ended his life but also his dreams and aspirations. Ginusto daw po ni Acho, Mr. President, na maging isang abogado para sa Korte Suprema. Ginusto rin po niya na balang araw na maaaring maging senador din po siya gaya natin dito sa plenaryo ngayon. Naglayon pa nga po siya na maging Chief Justice, Mr. President, ng Korte Suprema. Matayog at mataas, Mr. President, ang kanyang mga pangarap. Ngayon, dahil po sa karahasang ginusto ng iilan at sa kanilang paglabag sa batas, hindi na po natin malalaman, Mr. President, kung hanggang saan sana ang mararating ni Acho. His full potential as a potential lawyer, potential civil servant, will never be realized. Sinayang na nga po ang buhay niya, hindi pa siya tinrato bilang kapatid o tao man lang, Mr. President. As a UST alumnus, I urge my alma mater and the proper authorities to investigate and hold the people accountable for this unfortunate incident involving Acho, my fellow Tomasian. I fully support Senate Resolution number 504 of my seatmate, Senator Mig Zubiri, as well as any action from this chamber in investigating the matter. I'd like to put on record that I will fully commit myself in cooperating with whoever will lead the investigation in this particular issue, Mr. President. I think it's time, Mr. President, that we act. It's time to perhaps amend or repeal this existing anti-hazing law. I think the key word here is that we should be more proactive, Mr. President, para tuluyan ng mawala ang karahasan sa ating mga pamantasan. Huwag po nating sayangin, Mr. President, ang buhay na binuwis na ni Acho. Mr. President, no type of brotherhood can ever equate to the sanctity of life. Hindi po nasusukat sa karahasan ang tunay na kapatiran. Thank you, distinguished sponsor also, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Perhaps the word would be criminalize, not amend or update, Mr. President. Anyway, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, Mr. President.
Senator Gatchalian is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to express my intention to be associated with the resolution filed by our seatmate, Senator Mig Zubiri. Second, I want to express my deepest condolences to the family of Mr. Castillo. And third, Mr. President, I remember in 2004, there was another student who died because of hazing, and this is Mr. Julio Servando. And after that, Mr. President, there was a wave of support to call for a repeal of the existing anti-hazing law and to create a much more stringent, clear, and new anti-hazing law. At that time, Mr. President, I was in Congress, and we underwent 2 hearings, 3 technical working groups, and it was unanimously supported in the committee as well as in the plenary. It was approved on 3rd reading. Unfortunately, because of lack of time, it never went through the Senate. Mr. President, taon-taon na lang meron tayong nakikita at naririnig na ganitong pagpaslang ng buhay ng mga estudyante, lalong-lalo ng mga estudyante. And every time there is such a story, we would see a lot of support and a call for a new law. It's really about time to look at this incident and to really come up with a clearer and stringent law. Mr. President, let me just give the body a few statistics, and I will elaborate this later on. Since 2002 to 2017, there are about 105 reported incidents of hazing, in which 393 suspects were included in the case. Unfortunately, only 15 were convicted. That's a measly 3.8% conviction rate. So napakaliit at napaka-konti lang po yung nako-convict po dito sa present anti-hazing law ho natin. So once again, I call on our colleagues to really look at this issue, and I laud the manifestation of our good chairman of the Public Order Committee that he will prioritize this measure. It's really about time, Mr. President, to put an end on hazing. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Risa Ontiveros, Mr. President.
Senator Ontiveros is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, deepest condolences to the Castillo family. Prayers for the peace of your beloved brother Acho, and justice and healing for your family. Mr. President, as the daughter of one of the founding members of a fraternity at another law school, who, when his fraternity killed one of their applicant members in an initiation, Daddy incredulously shook his head and said sadly then, what is happening to the Greek letter societies, earlier described by the gentleman from Zambales? Bilang ding isang proud barbarian na ni minsan sa buhay ko bilang estudyante ay hindi sumali sa isang sorority. At lalong-lalo na, Mr. President, bilang isang ina, tulad ng good gentleman from Bukidnon, bilang isang ina na sinasabi po namin, ni halos di namin padapos sa lamok ang mga anak namin para lamang paglaki nila, pahirapan sila at patayin ng mga uhugin dyan. I wish to wholeheartedly support the privileged speech of the good gentleman from Bukidnon and the bill that he and our other colleagues in the Senate will be championing. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Mr. President, the next senator to be recognized, I wish ito sana mga nakasagupa ng mga nagtatapang-tapangan ng mga plot members. Senator Manny Pacquiao.
Senator Pacquiao is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before anything else, my deepest condolence to family Castillo. Mr. President, alam niyo yung mga ganon, yun ang mga duwag eh. Sa totoo lang, yun ang mga duwag na tao, yung mga nambubugbog na walang kalaban-laban. Kung hindi lang masama, Mr. President, pwede ko silang hamunin, Mr. President eh. Hindi, sabay-sabay sila. kawawa naman yung bata na nag-aaral pa. Eh, kung ano kayang pakiramdam kung ganun na may pamilya din ako. So I condemn in the highest possible terms the cowardly and inhumane actions of those involved in this hazing na kinamatay ng isang estudyante, si Horacio Tomas Castillo III. They have no place in a civil society. Alam nyo, gusto kong nakikita kong nararamdaman ko yung nararamdaman ng pamilya ng mga Castillo dahil pamilyado akong tao. Yung mga anak ko nga sa school, pag may bully lang sa kanila, pag may insulto lang sa kanila, gusto kong puntahan at that's a feeling of a father, Mr. President, na yung feeling mo sa mga anak mo na pinalaki mo, inalagaan mo ng matagal, tapos papatayin lang na walang kalaban-laban. Eh, hindi ba naman mga duwag ito mga ito? Mr. President, pinaparating ko ang aking pagkikiramay sa pamilya Castillo. And then we will exert all efforts to possible to execute laws that would prevent these acts. As a parent, I am gravely abhorred by this cowardice. I join the call for justice for Acho. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. And finally, Senator Chisa Escudero.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Escudero is recognized.
Mr. President, nais ko makiisa sa talumpating binigay ni Senator Zubiri kaugnay sa isa na namang hazing victim. Ilang punto lamang ang nais kong ilagay sa ating record dito sa Senado. Una, kakaiba itong nangyaring ito dahil karamihan sa mga nagdaang panahon, kung may napapatay o nasasaktan na malubha ang sino mang naging biktima ng hazing, ang minimum kung nakikita o nababasa palagi ay hinahatid sa ospital. Tumatakbo yung mga salarin para hindi sila mahuli o kasuhan, pero sa kasong ito'y kakaiba at mas mabigat sa dibdib dahil iniwan nila sa bangketa. In-initiate nila para maging brad, natapos man o hindi ang initiation, brad na dapat na ituturing, iiwan mo sa bangketa, ni hindi mo dadalhin sa ospital man lamang para magkaroon ng tsansa man lamang o pagkakataon na marahil may ligtas yung kanyang buhay. Pangalawa, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, miyembro ng fraternity ang Dean ng Faculty of Law ng UST. Isa rin siya sa mga pinakamataas na siguro ginagalangan natin ang respeto ng kanyang kapatiran. Hamon kong binibitiwan kay Dean Divina, siya mismo ang manguna sa pagharap ng kanyang mga brads upang panagutan itong nagawa o ginawa nila, sinasadya man o hindi. Obligasyon at pananagutan niyan bilang miyembro ng kapatiran, bilang Dean ng Faculty of Law at ama ng College of Law ng UST, at sana kung magkakaroon ng pagdinig sa resolusyong ito, isa sa mga ipapatawag at iimbitahin upang sumagot at magpaliwanag ang Dean ng College of Law at miyembro, Senior Brad Ika nga, ng kanilang kapatiran upang bigyang saysay ang tila walang kabuluhang pagkamatay ng isang kabataang Pilipinong malaki sana ang pangakong ibibigay sa ating bansa. Bago ako tuloy magtapos, Mr. President, nais ko rin babatid sa pamilya ang aking taos-pusong pagkikiramay sa pagkawala ng kanilang anak. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Lauren Legarda, Mr. President.
Senator Legarda
Finally.
is recognized.
I would like to associate myself, Mr. President, with Senator Mig Subiri and the rest of our colleagues in deploring this horrible, brutal murder and the cry for expeditious justice to be delivered immediately to the family of the victim. I would just like to ask a few questions of Senator Subiri. Republic Act 8049. Is that the act regulating hazing? Is this the only law that covers this murderous act? this horrible incident where this young UST student and many others like him in the past have been victimized by the brutality of some of our youths of today and the past years. Is this law regulating hazing and other forms of initiation the only law that covers this criminal act, Mr. President?
As far as we know, Mr. President, yes.
And the proposed measure that Senator Lacson intends to hear on Monday would be a law not regulating hazing, but banning hazing altogether. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's correct, Your Honor.
Yes.
It's the
However, if you look
prohibiting.
at Section 4 of the law, it already says that when a person is subjected to hazing and other form of initiation rights, and if he or she suffers any physical injury or dies thereof, the persons who participated in the hazing shall suffer life imprisonment. And so, how different, how stringent, how much stricter will the new law be banning hazing if Section 4 of the existing law, which regulates hazing, already says that it's life imprisonment for the perpetrators of the brutal act?
Yeah. Yes, the problem, Mr. President, Madam...
Only when they're injured
Madam,
or when they died.
Colleague, the problem is it regulates it, it allows it in the first place. So, so they do the act, and then when somebody dies, that's when they're only liable.
Clear. I just wanted
So,
to put
yeah.
that on record. I am therefore one with the sponsor and the rest of my colleagues in banning any form of hazing. They might change the name, or any form of initiation rights in any fraternity, sorority, association, movement, or organization where physical, mental, emotional, verbal abuse may be used.
Yes.
But it will come at a proper time when the hearings are conducted and when the amendments on the floor. Because we deplore physical abuse. We deplore emotional and verbal abuse and embarrassment as well. And that's done. And also, if we may expand it, not just to cover fraternities, but also movements or associations as well, where violence can ensue in such initiation rights, Mr. President. And so, my last question is, I feel so much for the family, as well as families before them, that had unexpected, brutal murders of undeserved, which is totally undeserving. And so, Mr. President, what brings us about? What kind of human beings release this culture of impunity and brutality among college, high school students, or master's students, or law students? What is it about the youth of today that promotes this kind of brutality that, as one of our colleagues had said, a person you would call your friend, your brother, your mentor, your protector, would actually be the victim of that brutality? Anong klaseng kahayupan ang nagaganap sa mga kabataan na sadyang sinasaktan at pinapatay ang kanilang kaibigan, kasamahan o kapatid sa kanilang mga fraternity, Mr. President? Hindi natin maisip kung sila ba'y nagdroga, sila ba ay may violenteng tendency, sila ba ay pinalaki ng kanilang mga magulang na pumapatay ng kanilang kaibigan at kasamahan? I would just like to understand the psychological makeup of such brutal murderers who are studying in such universities. Anong klaseng mga tao po? Anong klaseng pagpapalaki ng magulang? Anong klaseng kabarkadahan? Anong klaseng eskwelahan? Anong klaseng samahan ang siyang umuudyok para pumatay ng ganito? I'd like to hear from the sponsor. I want to understand it better. I was a young journalist when the Lenny Villa incident happened. I knew the parents, not very close, but I knew them. And many others after them, we've stood on this floor in these years, if not decades. Some of our colleagues are members of fraternities. If they would allow, I would ban fraternities and sororities. I am not certain that that could pass in the Senate, in the lower house. I was never part of any sorority or fraternity. Again, I might hear a howl from our colleagues who are members of fraternities. But I agree with Senator Gordon's suggestion. Let the leadership skills be honed. Let debate skills or activities leading to humanitarian assistance, let the talent of these young kids and the youths of our country be explored rather than focus on violence, physical or mental or abusive behavior.
Well, what can I say, Mr. President? I'm not a member of a fraternity, although I joined when I was in UP. I joined my rodeo team, which is the UPLB Ranchers Club. We also had hazing then at the time. And I was also paddled, and I saw, bugbog ako, Mr. President, dahil mistiso ako.
Ano po ang kadahilanan? Okay, sinasabi po nyo, kayo ay nabugbog. Bakit gusto mo bugbog ng tao? Anong klaseng mga kultura?
Kaya nga, Mr. President,
What kind of culture perpetuates that in initiation rites?
President, no? I wanted to join the rodeo team of the university, and yet we have to go through this type of initiation rites. And you know what happens? After you go through the initiation rites, you become an animal yourself. Gusto mo sa next batch, babawi ka. At sa susunod na batch, babawi ka. At ikaw din ay nagiging violent at nagiging parang hayop. It's that violent culture when you join a particular association or group or fraternity or sorority. And you know how we were able to stop it? We were able to stop it. We declared that that batch, the next batch, wala pa kasing anti-hazing law noon eh. It was in the 80s. The next batch, sabi namin, walang initiation rights. Nung wala yung initiation rights, Mr. President, wala na, tigil na. The next batch after that, wala na rin kasi there was no violence or initiation rights given to them. And then our group got bigger and bigger. It became more, it became more of a family, of a brotherhood. At least I'm happy to say that I was one of those in our group, sa UP Ranchers Club, that was able to stop that culture. But we passed the law 20 years ago, in the 1990s, to stop this type of culture of violence for people who do not listen to reason, to rhyme or reason, or to civility. Yeah. Problema, Mr. President, Madam colleague, the law has been poorly implemented. You know that under this original law, Mr. President, there are several types of punishment. Your attendance, there's a small punishment. If you held the paddle, there's another type of punishment. It's graduated. So, unfortunately, if the lawyers, the prosecutors, the judge is a friend of the fraternity, pwede nilang sabihin, ay, Mr. President, babaan natin yung kaso. Meron naman dito provision sa batas. Kaya na yun, kami ni Senator Sherwin, kami ni Senator Bam, and I thank Senator Joel, and I thank Senator Cheese, I thank Senator Angara, Senator Soto, Senator JV, my colleagues here, Senator Risa, Senator Lacson, Senator Pacquiao, na gustong bugbugin sila, isa-isa, sabay-sabay, kung pwede. Senator Gordon will be with us also in the evening. Senator Lauren, Senator Nancy, Senator Greg, whose brother also died in the hands of his so-called brothers. And the rest of the chamber, Senator Kiko and Senator Ralph, who are here with us. Mr. President, I thank them for their support. This could happen to our children. Mr. President, you have 2 sons. I have 2 sons. I don't want them to come home in a body bag. I don't want to see them in an ER. Because they're so-called friends who are supposed to protect them were the same ones who tortured our very sons, our very daughters. Kalokohan yun. Kalokohan yun. This has to stop, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I move to refer the speech of Senator Subiri to the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, and secondarily to the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, Mr. President.
Any objection to the motion? Hearing now, we refer this speech as well as the exchanges, Majority Leader.
Before the next privilege speech, Mr. President, I
Motion
move...
is approved.
May I recognize also the presence of the NEDA Secretary, Secretary Ernesto Pernia, Department of Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III, DSWD USEC Emmanuel Leico, OIC Secretary, DOH USEC Lilibet David, Director Rolly Toledo, ASEC Reynaldo Ching, Ms. Maria Teresa Cerboles, and Gabriel, USEC Carl Chua, ASEC Jerpy Erquiza, the Vice Governor of Aurora and the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, Romel Angara, also Antique Governor Rodora Cadiao, who was with us today, and more importantly, Mrs. Tutsi Angara, who is celebrating her anniversary, wedding anniversary with Senator Sani Angara, who will be delivering a sponsorship speech on the train later, Mr. President. So I'd like to welcome them to the Senate.
Welcome to all of our guests.
And as I welcome gesture, I move to recognize Senator Gordon for a matter of public interest.
Senator Gordon is recognized to speak on a matter of public interest.
May I call for order, Mr. President? May I call for some order, Mr. President?
Silence, please, so that we can listen to the message and the speech of Senator Gordon.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, good afternoon. Tarry a little, there is something else, was a quote I learned, I believe, from the Merchant of Venice. And the other day, I thought I'd deliver a little speech here today, a little privileged speech on the matter of the rescue or the release of Father Teresito Suganub, or Father Chito, last September 16, 2017. Father Chito was captured 117 days ago and held by the Maute troops or ISIS elements from May 24 to September 16, 2017, when rescued by AAP troops. I figured that I should talk about this because they are even debating whether he was rescued or he was released. It doesn't matter, so long as he is back. It shows that our troops were very patient and tried to avoid killings unnecessarily with their bombings, so much so that Father Suganub or Father Chito survived it along with another colleague, and I understand there are still some more being kept in Marawi. It also shows, perhaps because of the education of some of the Maute brothers, that there is still some humanity left in them. After all, they were educated in Dansalan College or university, which is a Protestant-run university, I understand. So kahit na paano, pinaligtas or pinalabas or nakuha, at least buhay. Thank God, Father Chito is free. God knows how we would react. I think more violently with each other had the priest been killed, just as I'm sure any Muslim would react if an imam is killed. And I'm happy and thankful to the Lord Almighty that Father Chito escaped or was released or was freed or was rescued alive. I don't care about the other words. The point is, he is now free. Having said that we should tarry a little, I believe we should take a look also at our situation. Mr. President, many of our soldiers have been killed or wounded, Mr. President. I can think, for example, of Captain Romel Sandoval and Private First Class Sherwin Canapi. Take time to look at this young man. This young man was a captain, and when he saw his comrade wounded, He rushed back, and he didn't have to do that. In the process, he was killed. Both of them were actually killed in the service of our country. Then you go to another soldier, Mr. President. And this is Private First Class Diane Ryan Bayot, Mr. President. Diane Ryan Bayot was 24 years old. At yung kanyang team ay inatake on the second day of the siege. Masyadong malakas ang putukan, so the team raged for assistance and reinforcements. Pero walang dumating. Take time out, tarry a little. Because nung makita niya na nag-iisa na lamang siya after several hours, at patay na lahat yung kanyang mga kasama, ano yung bang ginawa niya? He gave his grid coordinates on radio and made a startling request. Bombahin na lang ninyo ang location ko, sir. He knew what was coming, but he would also take down as many of the enemies who had killed his comrades, his fellow soldiers, as he could. Yan si Private First Class Diane Ryan Bayot. And then you have Private First Class Jeffrey Baligod. I'm just picking up some of the people who have been killed. Almost 150 of our soldiers had been killed. Who was wounded in action, lost his limbs when he tripped off a firearm at around 7 a.m. or June 18, 2017. He applied his training as a medic specialist on himself to stop the bleeding and save his own life. And then there is First Lieutenant Kent Fagyan. You remember him. I went over to salute him. In fact, I was so touched, and I still am until now, going in front of the whole Congress with his arm on a sling, wounded, and I told him it must be very hard for you to see your soldier, a leader of men, for you to see your soldiers fallen in battle, and it is equally hard for you, I'm sure, na lalabanan mo ang kapwa Pilipino ng Marawi. Nanligaw siguro ng landas, napabayaan at nalulung lamang sa masamang mga doktrina na ngayon nagdudulot ng kahirapan sa daang-daang libong tao at nagbibigay ng dilim at lagim sa Mindanao. Ano ko, hindi ka natutuwa. Nahihirapan ka, pero you will go back again to battle despite your wounds because it is your duty. Ang pinaglalaban natin ay hindi yung Pilipino laban sa Pilipino, ngunit yung tinatawag natin kakapayapaan para madala na natin ang development sa bayan, lalo na sa Mindanao. I saluted him that day to honor him, Mr. President. And then, tragedy. Corporal Rodilo Bartolome of the 53rd Infantry Battalion, going on home leave from the battles of Marawi. Napakasakit ito. He just alighted from a passenger bus and was waiting for his ride home. Naghihintay siya nasa sakyan. In Barangay Monte Alegre, Aurora, at around 3 p.m. when he was killed by 2 policemen. Kababayan natin at mga pulis. A senseless killing indeed. Mr. President, we have to tarry a little. Our soldiers die in battle as we debate whether we rescued or he was released or he escaped. We have to tarry a little. And when we look at it, Mr. President, we have to look at the destruction of Marawi, Mr. President. Take a look at some of the pictures. Homes na pinaghirapan ng ating mga kababayan Maranao na durug-durug, na hindi natin gustong durugin, pero dahil sa ilan lamang naligaw ng landas, ay napilitan tayo na magkipaglaban at makita ninyo ang nangyari sa kanilang kabahayan, sa kanilang pamilya, at ang kanilang mga kababayan na daan libo na lumabas. Sinalubong ng Red Cross, sinalubong ng maraming NGO, at nagtulungan para sa ganoon mapawi kahit paano ang kanilang kahirapan at mabigyan ng dignidad ang kanilang sarili. maganda naman ang tulong ng ating kabayanan. Natutuwa ako na maraming Muslim na Red Cross na natuto talaga na mapasubo. Na dati-dati hindi masyadong aktibo, na ngayon ay napaka-aktibo at na-realize nila ang kahalagahan. Katulad yung sinasabi ko kanina na kung ituturo natin ang humanitarianism sa ating mga paaralan, ay siguro matatamasa rin nila yung magandang pagsisilbi sa kapwa-tao na para makatulong sa kapwa-tao. So, Mr. President, let us also tarry a little because he no-states si Father, and that is a violation of international humanitarian law, both domestic law and international law. There shall be no taking of hostages. Humane treatment of members of the armed forces of aid, down their arms, lay down their arms, and those who are sick, wounded, detained, must be treated humanely. Makikita nyo yung mga binaril na nakaluhod ng mga maute doon sa Marawi. At mamakita rin natin na dapat the wounded and sick shall be collected and cared for. Dinadala sa ambulansya, dinadala sa ospital, binibigyan ng tubig, binibigyan ng pagkain, binibigyan ng paliguan, binibigyan ng palingkuran ng mga organisasyon, and I'm very proud of that, to be a member and volunteer of the Red Cross. At yan ay makikita nyo sa mga slide na pinapakita natin. Ngayon mga kasama, dugo, tubig, lahat, pagkain, pero makikita natin, dapat siguro mag-isip rin tayo. Paano nangyari yan? Akala ko ba may budget ang ating military? Ito ba ay kulang? O ito ba ay ginagamit o hindi ginagamit? Ito ba ay kapos? O dapat dagdagan? Because paano umabot ng ganyang katagal ang labanan? Na mayroong mga tunnel na tila hindi nauubusan ng bala ang mga kalaban, ang mga maute. Tila dumadagdag pa at tila tuwina ay nakakamatay pa at may mga gamit na talagang mas maganda pa ang gamit kasi sa ating bansa. Nanliliit ako nung kausap ko yung isang ambahador ng isang bansa na sinabi niya nagbigay sila ng bala. Nagbigay sila ng gamit sa atin para labanan ang ating sarili. May pera naman tayo pero tila kinakabos pa ang gamit ng ating kasundaluhan. Mr. President, siguro dapat pag-isipan natin mahigiyan because katulad ng ibang bansa, katulad ng Amerika nung araw, katulad ng Japan nung araw, nung sila ay mahihirap pa, ang kanilang mga slogan ay payamanin ang bayan, palakasin ang ating militar para sa ganoon hindi tayo masasakop ng mga kalaban sa labas na nanggagaling at sa loob ng ating bansa. Siguro dapat pag-isipan natin as we do our budget today, na dapat makita natin kung yan ang tunay na pangangailangan natin. Nababalikan ko lang po para ulit ibalik ko ang trahedya ng Mindanao. Balik po tayo in August of 2008. Sa Kulambugan, bumaba ang BIFF, isang breakaway ng MILF, at doon ay pumatay sa mga 17 pamilya. Sinunog ang mga bahay, sinunog ang mga eskwela, lahat ng sumaklolong pulis ay pinag-aambush. At dyan yung makikita sa mga larawan na yan na kinuha namin noong panahon na yan. At makita niya may mga bata na binaril sa ulo, sanggol na binaril sa ulo. Tatay na tinatago, ipamilya, binaril sa likod. Hindi natin nararamdaman yan dito sa Maynila, and I hope we will never have to go through with that. And it is my hope that we will never really have to go through that. A boy with a gunshot wound on his elbow, makikita niya, kausap natin. A baby shot, wounded in the head, makikita niya. Isang sunog na PNP vehicle na sinunog ng mga BIFF. Mindanao is certainly restless, particularly in that area. And yet, hindi kami nagpatalo. Ang gobernador ng Lanao del Norte, si Khalid Di Maforo, at saka kanyang ina, si Angging Di Maforo, ay tumulong. At bakit sila hindi tutulong? Sabagat ako, nung pumunta dyan, nakita ko sa television ang isang Muslim na imam na nangangalang Alanonding M. Sarip. At dyan ang larawan niya, yung nakalagay nang galing sa Mecca, kung di ako nagkakamali. Si Alanuddin M. Sarip ang siyang nagdala ng mga Kristiyano na tinago niya sa kanyang simbahan ng Muslim. At doon tinago. At ang sabi niya, pag dumating naman ang sundalo, ako naman ang itago nyo sa simbahan ninyo. Little things like this mean a lot to me and must to all of us. That's why I look for him. On one side of the road, I was talking to the Christians who were saying, na-shock sila, sapagkat ang Lanao del Norte is a bastion of good relations between the Christians and the Muslims. Wala silang gulo until pinasok sila dyan. Kausap ko yung mga gasoline boy. Kausap ko yung mga tao doon sa tabing karsada. At doon sabihin ko, nasaan yung mga kapatid nating Muslim, hinahanap ko yung tao na tumulong, yung imam, ang sabi nila, ayan ho siya, nakamotorsiklo sa kabila, at nasa kabila, parang divide, yung mga Muslim sa kabila, yung mga Kristiyano sa kanan. Ako po ay tumawid sa karsada, at yan siya, nagkabayan kami, at sinabi ko, I honor you, sir. I got his phone number, and to this day, we still call one another. Di ba ganyan dapat ang mangyari? If we tarry a little, if we just think that we can help one another in times of peace and in times of war, if mutual respect is provided, if the money that we provide in the budget goes not just to the leaders, but goes all the way down to the people of this country, to the fisherman, to the farmer Muslim, then he will not have to give up his shovel or his pick for a gun para magidnap ng mga tao at pagsamantalahan ang mga tao. And that's why I think, Mr. President, it is important that we tarry a little as we celebrate itong buhay ni Father Chito na nakaligtas. And that is what is important. Alam nyo, ang katapusan ng kwento ng bakbakan na yon, ang sabi ko kay Angging Di Maporo at kay Governor Di Maporo, at sinabi ko kay Imam Sarip, gagawa tayo ng bahay, yung mga sinunog na bahay. Right away. Gagawin ng Filipino Christian and Filipino Muslim. At makikita nyo sa mga larawan, papakita ko sa inyo, na kahit na paano, natapos yung mga bahay ng mga Muslim, at ang mga nabigyan ay sila Jessica Patarlas, Flora Porcare, Anita Lagura, Mateo Balasbas, Apololario Lagang, Teodoro Capapas, Fortunato Amumonpon, Juana Amumonpon, Henry Barros, Petronila Pagbinwit, William James Ichico, Geoffrey Daguan, Emerita Bitasulaw, Alexander Malay, Francisco Sosimo Jr., Paulio Jumawad at Teodoro Jumawad. Nagkaroon sila lahat ng bahay sa lalong madaling panahon, pati livelihood, natulungan sila. At bagamat hindi na ako humihingi ng pasalamat, ang Red Cross ay alam ko na kahit na paano nakatulong at nakapagbigay ng livelihood sa mga tao yan. And what is the message there? Muslims and Christians can rebuild their own community. Today, nangangako tayo ng 50 billion para itayo ng gobyerno. No! Ang magtatayo ng Malawi, ang magtatayo ng Lanao ay pawang citizen na Pilipino, Muslim at Filipino Christian. And more than just rebuilding homes, dapat i-develop yung Lake Lanao. Para sa ganoon, magkaroon talaga ng sariling mga hanap buhay ang mga tao, katulad sa Lake Geneva, katulad sa Lake Tahoe, magamit nila ang mga sarili nilang talento para mabuhay sila ng maayos. Mr. President, I cannot continue on without citing a quotation which I got from a war movie of recent vintage. Sabi ganoon, ideas are peaceful, but history is violent. Indeed, Mr. President. Mga ideas natin are peaceful. What ang kasaysayan natin, katulad ng kasaysayan ng mga fraternity, ay violent eh. Maganda ang pakay ng fraternity, maganda ang pakay ng isang bansa na magkaroon ng mapayapa at masaganang bansa. Pero ang kasaysayan ay violente. Talagang maraming namamatay. And so today, I thought we must build values, build character, build hope in our schools. And I thought I would bring it to light today to make people realize how lucky we are to live in a time of peace. Development to come not only by helping Malawi, but by also rehabilitating Lake Lanao as heritage site for Malawians and Filipinos to show their history as traders and their rich history as a people. In closing, Mr. President, I'd like to say we need to unite communities. We are all brothers and sisters regardless of our religion and ideology, Muslims or Christians. We are as Filipino as each one of us here are. Tagalog, Bisaya, Mindanaoan. We should care. We must care. Let not all the bombings and killings we see every day on TV and social media make us callous, stoic, or helpless. Let us look for the good in each other, or better yet, be the good we're trying to look for. Be the good that we must be. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Gordon. 1 minute suspension. Session resumed. Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was designated by Senator Soto to be acting Majority Floor Leader for the moment while they attend to Ladakh in Malacanang. But for the meantime, Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move to transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to the calendar of special order Senate Bill number 1592 under Committee Report number 164.
Any objection? Hearing none.
With the permission of the body, I move to consider Senate Bill number 1592 under Committee Report number 164. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none.
I'd like to, with the permission of the sponsor of Senate Bill number 1592, Mr. President, I would like to reconsider my motion. Withdraw my motion, Mr. President. According to the Majority Floor Leader, there's an additional reference of business before we tackle the trade measure.
The motion is withdrawn. Any objection? Hearing none. The Secretary will read the additional reference of business.
Additional reference of business. Committee report number 164, prepared and submitted by the Committee on Ways and Means on Senate Bill number 1592 with Senators Recto, Gordon, Legarda, Suberi, Angara, Villar, Ercito, Binay, Pimentel III, Aquino IV, Escudero, Soto III, Villanueva, and Gatchalian as authors thereof, entitled An Act Amending Sections 5, 6, 24, 25, 31, 34, 35, 51, 79, 84, 86, 89, 90, 97, 99, 100, 101, 106, 107, 108, 109, 112, 114, 116, 148, 149, 150, 151, 155, 171, 196, 232, 237, 249, 264, and 288, creating new sections
148-A, 150-A, 237-A, 264-A, 264-B, and 265-A, all under Republic Act number 8424, otherwise known as the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended, and for other purposes, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate Bill numbers 67, 107, 121, 124, 126, 129, 130, 147, 151, 179, 267, 294, 295, 303, 388, 407, 670, 697, 763, 769, 821, 867, 919, 980, 1009, 1053, 1062, 1096, 1338, 1408, and 1588, taking into consideration proposed Senate resolution numbers 30, 118, 407, and House Bill numbers 4815, 4903, and 5636. Senator Sani Angara.
To the calendar for ordinary business. Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for the previous motion, the permission of the body, to transfer the calendar of ordinary business to the calendar of special order, Senate Bill number 1592 under Committee Report number 164. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none.
With the permission of the body, I move to consider Senate Bill number 1592 under Committee Report number 164.
Any objection? Hearing none.
May we ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure?
The Secretary will read the title of the measure.
An act amending sections 5624, 2531, 34, 3551, 79, 84, 86, 89, 90, 97, 99, 100, 101, 106, 107, 108, 109, 112, 114, 116, 148, 149, 150, 151, 155, 171, 196, 232, 237, 249, 264, and 288, creating new sections 148-A, 150-A, 237-A, 264-A, 264-B, and 265-A, all under Republic Act number 8424, otherwise known as the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended, and for other purposes. Recommending its approval in substitution of Senate Bill number 67, 107, 121, 124, 126, 129, 130, 147, 151, 179, 267, 249, 294, 295, 303, 388, 407, 670, 697, 763, 769, 821, 867, 919, 980, 1009, 1053, 1602, 1096, 1338, 1408, and 1588, taking into consideration proposed Senate resolution numbers 30118, 407, and House Bill numbers 4815, 4903, and 5636.
Dami pala nun, Mr. President. There were about 31 measures, I think over 30 measures that were compiled into one committee report. And to sponsor the measure, Mr. President, may I recognize the chair of the Committee on Ways and Means, the dynamic, dashing, and hardworking Senator from Aurora, Senator Sani Angara.
The dynamic, dashing Senator Sani Angara is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thought it was our majority leader who was the comedian, but it turns out it's our deputy majority leader who is the true comedian. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, members of the cabinet and agency officials, ladies and gentlemen, and most of all to my better half, Tutsi, who I'd like to greet her happy anniversary today. My anniversary gift to her, Mr. President, is a tax bill, although she is not a beneficiary of this tax bill. Mr. President, we rise on behalf of your Committee on Ways and Means to sponsor Committee Report 164 on Senate Bill 1592, which consolidates 31 Senate bills, 3 House bills, and 3 Senate resolutions. Bawat isa po sa atin ay may pangarap na nais natin abutin. Ngunit sa ngayon, kakaunting Pilipino lang ang tunay na nakakaangat. Ang gusto po natin, Mr. President, ay dumami ang hanay ng mga Pilipino na nakakaasenso sa buhay. A leader once remarked that a basic test of a functioning democracy is its ability to create new wealth and see to its fair distribution. When a democratic society does not meet the test of fairness, freedom is in jeopardy. Kapag kakaunti lamang sa ating mga kababayan na nasa baba ang nakakaakyat o nakakaangat, ito po ay labag sa katarungang panlipunan o social justice na nakasaad sa ating saligang batas at dapat nabibigyan ng pinakamataas na prioridad ng kamarang ito. May katarungang panlipunan o social justice kapag bawat isa ay malayang makipagsapalaran at nagtitiwala sa sariling kakayahan. Kapag mararamdaman niya agad ang bunga ng kanyang pagsisikap. Kapag malawak ang abot-tanaw ng kanyang mga pangarap. Nais po nating abutin ang lipunang iyon, Mr. President. The Senate version of TRAIN tax reform for acceleration and inclusion started with building a theme, the theme of social justice, which is its moral arc and its dominant purpose. Next, we put in the fiscal math. The result is a very comprehensive and ambitious tax reform, which reduces the income taxes of 99% of individual taxpayers without impairing the government's capability to finance its ambitious Build, Build, Build program and other worthy projects, like rebuilding Malawi and upgrading our defense and police forces, among others, Mr. President. It simplifies the tax code to create the environment to expand the tax base and make payments easier. Too many Filipinos are hungry, sick, homeless, jobless, and most unfortunately, hopeless. The Senate's mandate is to find ways of feeding them, of healing them, of giving them jobs, and most importantly, of bringing back hope into their lives. Let this measure be one of those ways. Kapag tama ang paggamit ng kinokolektang buwis, maraming mailalagay sa tama sa lipunan. May bata ang nababakunahan, may ilang paaralan ang nagkakailaw, may ilang barangay ang nagkakaroon ng dumadaloy na malinis na tubig. May mga barangay health worker, guro, pulis, sundalo, at kawani ng gobyerno ang nakakatanggap ng angkop na sweldo. Minsan, naririnig po natin na mahirap para sa taumbayan ang magtiwala. Kakaunti lang raw ang nakakaramdam ng serbisyo mula sa buwis. Hindi bulag ang Senado sa mga hinaing na ito. Kaya po tayo nakatayo rito, kabalikat ninyo lahat, dahil totoong may kailangan magbago. Ito mismo ang hangad nitong panukalang batas. Finally, Mr. President, after 20 long and arduous years, for our workers in particular, it is time for tax reform. It's time to give them back more purchasing power. It is time to give our workers and their families what is due them. Ano po ang nilalaman ng panukala ng inyong komite? Mr. President, for income tax, pinapanukala po ng bersyon ng Senado na magkaroon ng mga bagong tax brackets at tax rates para sa income tax o yung buwis sa kita ng ating mga kababayan. Papalitan ng kasalukuyang schedule na 2 dekada nang walang probisyon para sa indexation o ang regular na pagtaas ng mga halaga nito alinsunod sa pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin na nakikita po natin na nangyayari ngayon. Dahil sa kakulungan dun sa naunang batas, lumalaki man ang sweldo ng isang tao, unti-unting tinatax o binibwisan ng mataas ang mga dapat itax ng mababa sa paglipas ng panahon. This is what they call bracket creep. Kaunti ng pakaunti tuloy ang naiuwing halaga o take-home pay ng ating mga mamamayan. Where lower-level employees or new entrants to the workforce find themselves in higher tax brackets, paying higher tax rates. Leaving this unaddressed, Mr. President, deepens the inequality and the injustices in our society. To illustrate, a teacher with salary grade 11 in 1997, when the National Internal Revenue Code was proposed and is still in force, earned an annual income of around 111,000 pesos and was taxed under the third bracket at 15%. If we fast forward to the present, that teacher with the same salary grade is now earning an annual income of 274,000 adjusted by salary standardization, taxed at now a higher bracket at 20%. This increase in salary is only an adjustment for inflation, a nominal increase, Mr. President, that did not produce real income, real gains, or wealth. Di dumagdag ang kita niya. It is merely that teacher running to stay in place. Mukha namang tumaas ang sweldo niya, kasabay nito ay nagtaasan din naman ang presyo ng mga bilihin. Tumaas na ang gastusin niya, lumaki pa ang buwis na kinakaltas sa kanya dahil hindi na bago ang sistema ng pagbubuwis na nagresulta sa mas mataas na tax bracket. Winamasto ng panukala ng Senado ang di makatarungang sitwasyong ito upang sa ganoon, mas mapapakinabangan ng tao ang araw-araw nilang pinagtatrabahuan. Para hindi na maulit ito, minamandato ng Senate version na dapat may indexation ng mga buwis sa kada 3 taon para hindi na magdusa ang mga nagtatrabaho at naghihirap. This is tax relief for the many, Mr. President. Tinataas ng Senado sa 150,000 annual income ang exemption sa income tax. Para sa lahat ng mamamayan, maging siya ay swelduhan ng pamahalaan, ng isang kumpanya, o maging siya ay isang self-employed or professional o nagnenegosyo ng sarili. Magiging 250,000 ito kapag may 4 na anak ang ating taxpayer. Makakakuha pa rin ng exemption ang isang taxpayer na aabot sa 100,000 o 25,000 kada anak o dependent hanggang sa 4 na dependents. Mananatili pa rin ang bonus sa bonus na 82,000 pesos tax exemption per individual sa 13th month pay and other monetary benefits na pinaglaban natin itong nakaraang Kongreso, the 16th Congress, sa pamunuan din po ni Senate President Pro Tempore Ralph Recto at inyong likod, kung saan naging co-author namin ang 17 senador noong nakaraang Kongreso. Kapag pinagsama-sama ang lahat na ito, lalaki ang maiuwi ng mga Pilipino mula sa kanilang sahod o kita. Ibig sabihin, ang sino man na may 4 na dependent ay kumikita ng hanggang 25,000 kada buwan ay magiging exempted mula sa income tax, Mr. President. Ito'y humahalili sa pangako ni Pangulong Duterte sa kanyang kampanya itong nakaraang taon at mula nung siya'y naupo. Pangakong natupad kung maipasa po natin itong train. And to give credit where it is due, even in previous Congresses, several of us were already pushing for this reform. That number has grown such that more than half the Senate have filed bills to update our income tax rates and tax brackets. A few examples, starting with the government or the public sector where we come from, Mr. President. Sa gobyerno pa lamang, marami na ang makikinabang. If we take, starting from the bottom, at salary grade 1, utility worker or janitor, kada taon, sa ilalim po ng ating panukala, makaka-uwi siya ng dagdag na 8,000 pesos. Ang isang security guard or driver 1, may dagdag na 10,000 pesos kada taon. Ang isang midwife sa gobyerno na salary grade 9 ay merong matatanggap na 15,000 pesos. Ang isang teacher o nurse 1 na salary grade 11 ay makakatanggap ng almost 20,000 pesos. Dito sa Kongreso at Senado, ang mga salary grade 14 na legislative staff officer ay makakatanggap ng additional 26,000 pesos sa ilalim ng ating panukala. Ang associate university professor or college professor ay makakatanggap ng 42,000 dagdag sweldo. Ang ating mga, lahat po tayo dito ay chairman ng mga komite. Ang ating mga legislative committee secretaries ay tatanggap ng additional 66,000 pesos. Pero palagay ko, pag ang committee secretary ay sa Committee on Finance o sa Committee on Ways and Means o Committee on Labor na masisipag, dapat dagdag po ang kanilang sahod. May overtime pay pa po dapat. Ang mga salary grade 24, ang Police Inspector 5, halos 70,000 po ang dagdag sweldo kada taon. Ang isang City Trial Court Judge, halos 84,000 pesos dagdag sweldo kada taon ang matatanggap sa ilalim po ng panukala ng Senado. This may be appreciated by those who work hard for civil service reform. Hopefully, this will encourage the best and the brightest to not only join the government, but to also stay in the civil service. If we go to our private sector, Mr. President, pati mga nasa pribadong sektor, makikinabang sa panukalang reforma. A bookkeeper earning a monthly salary of 12,000 will have annual savings of close to 14,000 pesos. Ang isang welder, security guard, or baka yung welder na yun ay trinain ni Secretary Joel Villanueva nung siya'y nasa TESDA pa, na sumesweldo po ng 12,700 ay makakatanggap po ng halos 15,000 dagdag sweldo po sa ilalim ng ating panukala. Ang mga nagtatrabaho sa call centers na isa sa pinaka malago na maglikha ng trabaho ay makakatanggap po ng 16,000 to 18,000 additional income per annum. Ang isang ICU nurse at dentista ay makakatanggap din po ng over 18,000 pesos. Ang isang electrician makakatanggap po ng almost 19,000 pesos, and so on and so forth. A software engineer can get additional 30,000 pesos. A flight attendant can earn an additional 31,800 pesos. Ito lamang po ay halimbawa ng mga totoong tao na magkakaroon ng solusyon dito sa kanilang mga suliranin sa buhay. Kung susuruin po natin, Mr. President, parang nakakuha po ang ating mga empleyado na nagsisipag ng 14th month pay dito sa ating panukala ng Senado. Sa madaling salita, mula guro hanggang nurse, itong panukala po natin ay para sa lahat. Mula call center agent hanggang computer programmer, mula security guard hanggang piskal, mula utility worker hanggang dentista hanggang janitor, lahat po ay magbe-benepisyo. Halos lahat makakatanggap ng extra. At sa extra take-home pay, may extra para sa pagkain ng pamilya, para sa damit at gatas ni baby, para sa matrikula, baon at pamasahe ng mga bata, para sa school project ni ate at kuya, para sa upa ng bahay, para sa savings, o kaya para sa gamot ni lola at lolo. Kung may extra na pambili, hindi na siguro kailangan mangutang o mag-sideline ang ating mga guro. May extra time para sa pamilya, maglibang o kaya mag-exercise. At sa ganitong paraan, sana maging extra ang mararamdamang ginhawa. Sana extra na rin ang kumpiyansa ng bawat Pilipino sa sariling abilidad at kakayahan. Sana may extra na pagkakataon para tumingala at umasa sa isang masayang kinabukasan. Let me talk about our self-employed individuals and professionals, or SEPs. Mr. President, one of our country's most successful businessmen once said in an interview, "There are some young guys now in Divisoria, in Binondo, and you know, in 30 or 40 years, some of them will become very, very big. The reason is because they will work very hard, and everyone will have a chance. Every big guy started off small. And this is why the Senate's version raises the tax-exempt annual income to 150,000 across the board for our self-employed and professionals and entrepreneurs. That should make it even more attractive for Filipinos to start their own businesses. The Senate version also introduces a flat 8% tax on annual gross income for the self-employed and professionals. Kasama po dito ang mga trader, mga may-ari ng sari-sari store o karinderya, mga market vendor, mga may-ari ng hardware store, pati mga tricycle driver at fishball vendor. This 8% tax is in lieu of the payments for percentage tax. Instead of filing a percentage tax return every quarter, they only need to file one return once a year. SEPs, or self-employed professionals, are also given the option of either the flat 8% tax or the schedule of new income tax rates we have outlined for compensation earners. They can basically choose the tax regime more favorable to them, depending on which industry they are in and depending on their costs. This acknowledges that different entrepreneurs face different realities in different industries. and this hopefully incentivizes them to pay their taxes correctly. The Senate version also raises the VAT-exempt threshold on the sale or lease of goods and services from 1.9 million pesos to 3 million pesos, thus exempting small businesses with total annual sales of 3 million and below not only from paying VAT, but also from filing the monthly VAT return and quarterly percentage tax returns. This will provide relief to many small business owners. Mr. President, sa bawat sulok ng bansa, meron tayong nakikitang sari-sari store, merong karinderya, may mga trader na nangangalakal, may hardware store, may tricycle driver, may vulcanizing shop, may mananahi na makikinabang sa panukala ng Senado ngayon. Dagdag na natin dyan ang mga makabagong negosyo o trabaho sa digital economy tulad ng mga animators or game developers or app developers, pati driver ng Uber o Grab o taxi o PUV kasama po sa makikinabang. Panahon na para sa reforma sa income tax. Ngunit may mga isyong umuusbong na kailangan tugunan. All of us want to get this train moving and moving fast. But we also need to make sure that every Filipino family is on board when it does. Sapat lang muna sana ang bilis ng ating pagtakbo para makasabay ang mas marami. Baliwala kasi ang tulin kung may maiiwan o kaya masasagasaan. Let us always remember the inclusion portion or the I of the train bill. That is why we need to cushion the impact for some of our poorer countrymen who may not benefit from the income tax cuts, but who can look forward to bigger cash transfers or subsidies not dissimilar to the 4-piece or conditional cash transfer programs of the government. Mr. President, while taxation is an inherent power of Congress, upholding the welfare of the people remains its foremost mandate. Hence, it is a legislator's duty to ensure that any proposed tax reform, instead of adding to the people's burden, must alleviate it. If we go to the excise tax on petroleum products, dito po sa usapin ng produktong pampetrolyo, panukala ng Senado ay isang 175, 2 pesos at 225 na schedule sa pagtaas ng excise tax mula 2018 hanggang 2020. Pananatiliing exempted ang kerosene, lalo na't ito'y madalas gamitin ng napangsindi ng halos 3 milyong pamilya sa kanayunan ayon sa DOF. Tingin namin mas makakasabay ang tao kapag ganitong paraan ang gagamitin ng train. Dahan-dahan, imbis na biglaan, importante na lahat makasakay at makaangkas sa train sa taas at hindi sa ilalim nito. The Senate version also incorporates a safety mechanism against possible negative effects of the excise tax increases. If between 2018 and 2020 the price of oil exceeds $80 a barrel, or if the inflation rates rise beyond the country's targets, then the petroleum excise tax increases will be stopped. When it comes to the automobile excise tax, the Senate by and large adopts the 5 tiers proposed by the House of Representatives. The general principle prevails that the most expensive cars will be levied the highest rate, while the cheapest cars will only receive marginal increases. This is to ensure affordable choices are still available for the growing middle class of the country. The Senate version also encourages greener and cleaner transportation options by exempting hybrid and electric cars from the tax. In addition, there is an increase in the excise tax on coal, which has remained the same for 3 decades. This should make the environmentalists in the chamber happy, especially our resident expert on climate change, global champion for resilience, and author of many landmark environmental laws, Senator Lauren Legarda, who is not listening to my speech. Car sales have consistently gone up in the past few years. In fact, an all-time high of 413,700 units of automobiles were sold last year, representing a 24% growth from 2015. But while more started purchasing new cars, road networks and mass transportation did not necessarily improve or expand in tandem. This may be one of the reasons why so many suffer through congested roads every day. We subscribe to the long-term vision expressed by former Bogota Mayor Gustavo Pietro, that a developed country is not a place where the poor have cars. It's where the rich use public transportation. We hope to earmark the revenues from these new taxes for efficient public transportation. Hopefully, with the proposed auto excise taxes, we will see the day when many Filipinos who rely on public transportation move around comfortably in modern buses and jeepneys. Mga kababayan natin na sumasakay sa tren na hindi nasisira o nadidiskaril at hindi na mag-iimbestiga si Senator Grace po sa Committee on Public Services sa ating MRT dahil lagi nasisira po. Dito sa SSB or Sweet Beverage Tax, as mentioned by our finance and health officials, the proposed tax on sugary beverages is a preventive health measure, as the daily intake of such drinks has been rising in recent years. A healthy population, Mr. President, is essential to the vision of a better Philippines which Train aims to help realize. The Senate proposes a two-phased approach from the 10 and 20 peso structure proposed by House Bill 5636. First, there will be a tax worth 5 pesos per liter for beverages with caloric sweeteners and 3 pesos for those with non-caloric sweeteners. This shall be in place for the first 2 years of the implementation of the tax reform package to allow the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, to build its capacity to administer a tax based on the actual sugar content of the beverage. By that time, the SSB tax will be 0.05 centavos per gram of sugar per beverage, which is a tax regime that hopefully incentivizes manufacturers to produce and consumers to drink less sugary drinks. Nakinig naman po tayo, Mr. President, sa hinaing ng nakararami. Kaya pinili nating gawing exempt ang kape at 3-in-1 dahil 90% ng mga bumibili nito ay mula sa Class D at Class E. Kailangan nila ito sa pampagising sa umaga para makapaghanap buhay ng maayos. Bukod sa tumutulong po ito sa ating mga nagtatanim ng kape mula Cavite hanggang Cotabato. Sa ating mga nanay, exempt rin po ang gatas para sa kalusugan ng ating mga anak, which should please the women and child advocates of the chamber, like Senator Grace Poe, who has consistently pushed for feeding programs, and Senator Risa Hontiveros, who has recently sponsored the Healthy Bulilit or First 1,000 Days measure, which seeks to address, among others, undernutrition for children and mothers during that all-too-crucial period from conception, gestation, birth, up to the first 2 years of childhood. With regard to the VAT base or value-added tax base expansion, the Senate has tackled many proposals. It is generally accepted that a working VAT system should have few exceptions to maximize its substantive and procedural benefits. It is also common across countries and tax systems to have certain exceptions for goods, persons, or sectors deemed important by that country or system. It is in this sense that a country's tax system is said to embody its values. While it is far easier to administer a VAT system with no exemptions, it is more important that certain essentials and basic goods are protected in the interest of upholding the public's general welfare. Hence, the Senate retained important exemptions related to food production, healthcare, and socialized housing, something which I am sure Senators Villar, Ejercito, and Gatchalian would be happy about. We've also kept our promise not to lift any of the exemptions provided to our BPO industry, with help from Senator Joel Villanueva and Senator Richard Gordon, who with good reason have both been protective of this industry which has provided so many jobs to so many of our countrymen and growth to many corners of our country, not just in Makati, not just in Taguig, not just on Macapagal Boulevard, but even in places as remote as Kapatagan in Lanao del Norte, pati na din sa hilaga ng bansa sa San Nicolas, Ilocos Norte. We exempted cooperatives, a sector very close to Senator Zubiri, and kept in place the VAT exemptions that persons with disabilities or PWDs only recently started to enjoy, a law which Senator Rector and myself pushed for during the last Congress, as well as Senator Aquino, where we also retained the VAT exemptions given to senior citizens, which House Bill 5636 and the Senate version maintains. Sa ating mga lola at lolo, mga senior citizens, mga may kapansanan, patuloy po kayong aalagaan ng Senado. Pasalamat na din sa Kamara at kay Chairman Dax Cua sa pangunguna nito sa House of Representatives. Pagdating naman po, Mr. President, sa estate tax, sinikap din ng Senado na gawing mas madali para sa mga pamilya ang magbayad ng kanilang estate taxes. Para dito, papalitan po ang schedular regime na nakasaad sa NIRC or National Internal Revenue Code. The old schedule of rates will now give way to a flat 6% tax on the value of the net estate. Papalitan ang komplikadong rehimen ng isang sistemang mas simple at mas madaling maimplementa. Tatanggalin na rin ang requirement na magpadala ng notice of death sa BIR. Pinapahaba na rin ang payment period sa 1 taon mula sa kasalukuyang 6 months. Naglagay na rin ang Senado ng standard deduction na aabot sa 5 million pesos para hindi na kailangan patunayan pa ng pamilya ang mga funeral, medical o judicial expenses nila, pati ang halaga ng kanilang family home. Mr. President, too many of our lands lay dormant and unproductive because the estate taxes due from their transfer are hardly fulfilled. We may not be a landlocked country, but partially because of the difficulties with fulfilling estate taxes, many of our lands are locked away. This is why, parallel with this measure, we will sponsor an estate tax amnesty in the hopes of encouraging more people to fulfill their estate tax obligations and in turn free up more of our lands to be productive. With respect to the donor's tax, to further promote a more efficient transfer tax regime, the Senate similarly set the donor's tax at a flat 6% to be at par with other transfer taxes like the estate tax and the capital gains tax on real property. At para makatulong, nagsama po tayo ng ibang buwis na wala sa mga naunang panukala, pero kasama sa mga darating na tax reform packages ng DOF. Kasama dito ang pagtaas sa buwis ng interest ng foreign currency deposits, sa capital gains tax, sa mga stocks na hindi kinakalakal sa stock exchange, ang tax on dividend income at pagpataw ng tax sa mga cosmetic procedures. These were taken from subsequent DOF tax packages and are included because among those proposed, these are among the most progressive. We say that since those with higher incomes will bear the burden of taxation. Sinama namin ang mga ito para lahat ay makakapag-ambag sa pag-arangkada ng ating bansa. This train needs to get moving, Mr. President, but we also need to make sure that all Filipinos are on board when it does. Ang madalas naming marinig sa taong bayan, bakit kami magbabayad ng buwis? Baka ibubulsa lang. Ito ay pangkaraniwang sentimiento, kaya naniniwala ang komite na dapat maging malinaw sa madla na talagang makikinabang sila dito sa panukalang reforma. Kaya sinigurado sa bersyon ng Senado na malinaw ng nakasaad kung saan proyekto o serbisyo mapupunta ang karagdagang pondo na makakalap dahil sa train. This will be appreciated by our fiscal eagles like Senators Ping Lacson, Frank Drilon, Ralph Recto, and Loren Legarda. Such earmarking is essential to a burgeoning democracy like the Philippines. Authorities must properly account where the hard-earned money of hard-working Filipinos is spent. We want to ensure that whatever is collected from this measure actually goes to more accessible healthcare and education, like the Free Higher Education Bill, sponsored by Senators Aquino and Escudero and authored by half the chamber, more affordable food, and the feeding program advocated by Senator Poe. Efficient public transportation like that advocated by Senator J.V. Ejercito, as well as free skills training advocated by Senator Joel Villanueva, as well as increased job opportunities and greater assistance to our fisherfolk and farmers as advocated by agricultural advocates Senators Mig Zubiri, Kiko Pangilinan, and Gringo Honasan. In short, TRAIN will help build not only the country's physical infrastructure, but also its human infrastructure. Better roads, highways, bridges, seaports, airports, and railways will attract more investments and lead to better industries. And when the poor have access to education, healthcare, and social services, they gain better opportunities, leading to better incomes for their families. No longer, hopefully, will our engineers have to leave for the Middle East, or our teachers leave for California, or our nurses and doctors for the UK or Australia. Hopefully, no longer will our college graduates be forced to take on domestic jobs in Hong Kong or Italy. In closing, Mr. President, no tax reform has ever been successful without the participation of the people. That's why we endeavored to listen to the people, aggregate all their different views and concerns regarding taxation, and come up with a measure that is for their widest benefit. Your committee conducted 19 public hearings, many taking as long as 5 to 6 hours, 2 technical working groups, 3 consultative meetings, and 3 workshops. Buwis man ng paksa ang pagtaguyod ng isang makatarungan, patas, at inklusibong lipunan na nasasahalig sa pangarap at pag-asa ng kanyang mamamayan ang tanging adhikain nito. Ang Senado ang naghahain Pero daan-daang tao at organisasyon ang nag-ambag para mabuo ang bersyon na ito. Lahat para sa ikabubuti ng 104 milyong Pilipino. We would like to close with thanking all of those who helped us form the measure, come up with the measure, Mr. President. We'd like to start with the President, of course, for heeding the call of our people, and as early as the campaign, making tax reform a priority of his administration. We thank the good men and women of his cabinet. With us is Secretary Ernie Pernia. Earlier here was Secretary Bebot Bello. And we thank the agencies who sat through many tedious hearings. We thank the DOF for assiduously studying the different possibilities. Secretary Carl Chua, who patiently answered concerns and queries during the committee hearings. We'd like to thank our colleagues who attended the hearings. Senate President Coco Pimentel, Senate President Pro Tempore Ralph Recto, Majority Leader Tito Soto, Minority Leader Frank Drilon, Finance Chair Senator Lauren Legarda, and my seatmates, Senators Nancy Binay, J.V. Ejercito, Sherwin Gatchalian, Joel Villanueva, Mig Zubiri, and Senator Cynthia Villar. We know that with the help of our colleagues, we can produce an even better Senate bill. We also thank Director General Attorney Dasil and the rest of the Senate Tax and Research Office, or STSRO. I particularly, on a personal note, would like to thank my staff, who endured many late nights and early mornings and missed dates on Saturday nights. Although we have not always agreed with the DOF and the executive and have often engaged in numerous policy debates, we do feel the need to acknowledge their industry and dedication. In our constitutional setup, Mr. President, it is important for the legislature to act as a check and a balance on the executive. But it is just as important to also coordinate and move towards a shared vision of a better life for our people. As directly elected servants of the public, the Senate has and is continuously listening to our people. We have heard them cry out for many things. They have cried out for prices not to rise faster than incomes. They have cried out for incomes to improve, na lumaki man lang ang kita nila, partikular na yung mga nasa baba. They have cried out for better jobs to be available so that OFW families don't have to live apart. They have cried out for industries and small businesses to thrive and grow and to provide more and better jobs. They have cried out for government to build the human and physical infrastructure that lifts more Filipinos out of poverty and towards prosperity. Mr. President, all of this is possible with the right mix of policy decisions. Decisions that will open up opportunities for our young population. A population which will stay young well into the middle of this century. This is an advantage which we have over our regional neighbors. If we invest heavily in our young people today, a generation from now, we will see more Filipino families leading comfortable and healthy and prosperous lives with better opportunities for their children and their children's children. The train is one of the crucial policy decisions we can make to move our country and our people forward. Muli, maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Angara. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, to give time to the other members to study the proposed measure, I move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill 1592 under Committee Report 164.
Any objection? Hearing none.
Mr. President, we are in receipt of certification from the Office of the President concerning the postponement of the barangay elections. But before we go to that, may I have the additional reference of business while we are photocopying the message of the President.
Message.
Thank you.
Message from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 13 September 2017, it passed the following House bills in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate, 6016, an act regulating the issuance, use, and redemption of gift checks, gift certificates, and gift cards.
To the Committee on Rules.
6177, an act rationalizing the income requirements for the creation of a municipality, the declaration of highly urbanized status in the case of component cities, and the creation of a province, amending for the purpose sections 442, paragraph A, 452, paragraph A, 453, and 461, paragraph A, B, and C of the Republic Act number 7160 as amended, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991.
To the Committee on Local Government.
2290, declaring July 2 of every year a special non-working holiday in Pasig as the anniversary day. 6161, declaring January 21 of every year special non-working holiday in Rodriguez, Rizal as birth anniversary of Eulogio Amang Adona Rodriguez Sr. 6239, declaring November 5 of every year special non-working holiday in Ormoc, Leyte as Ormoc Flash Flood Memorial Day.
To the Committee on Local Government.
6283, an act recognizing the observance of November 17 of every year as National Students' Day.
To the Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture.
Bill on first reading, 1591, an act prohibiting hazing and regulating other forms of initiation rights of fraternities, sororities, and other organizations, and providing penalties for violation thereof, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 8049. Senator Soberi.
To the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and Justice and Human Rights.
Resolutions. 505, resolution expressing the sense of the Senate that Senator Laila M. De Lima be allowed to participate in decisions and other functions of the Senate in accordance with the rule of law introduced by Senators Trillanes IV, Drilon, Aquino IV, Hontiveros, and Pangilinan.
To the Committee on Rules.
506, a resolution commending and congratulating Milan Melindo for retaining his IBP Junior Flyweight title via split decision on September 16, 2017 at the Waterfront Hotel and Casino located in Cebu City, Senator Emmanuel Manny Di Pacquiao.
To the Committee on Rules.
507, a resolution commending the Philippine men's ice hockey team for winning the first ever hockey gold during the 29th SEA Games in Malaysia, Senator Emmanuel Manny Di Pacquiao.
To the Committee on Rules.
508, resolution respectfully urging His Excellency President Rodrigo R. Duterte to nominate Miriam Defensor Santiago for conferment of the Quezon Service Cross in recognition of her exemplary contribution to the nation through a life dedicated to public service, Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committee on Rules.
Communications. Letters from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas transmitting to the Senate copies of the following certified and authenticated BSP issuances in compliance with Section 15, Paragraph A of Republic Act number 7653, the New Central Bank Act, circular letter number CL-2017-052 dated 24 August 2017 and memorandum number M-2017-026 dated 11 September 2017.
Referred to the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
Mr. President, may I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill 1584 under Committee Report 163.
Any objection? Hearing none.
Mr. President, this is a certified measure by the President. May we therefore request the Secretary to read the certification letter from the President.
The Secretary will read the certification letter from the President.
Malacanang Palace, Manila, 20 September 2017, Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III, Senate President of the Philippine Senate, Pasay City. Mr. Senate President, pursuant to the provisions of Article 6, Section 26, Paragraph 2 of the 1987 Constitution, I hereby certify to the necessity of the immediate enactment of Senate Bill number 1584 entitled An Act postponing the October 2017 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataang elections, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 9164 as amended by Republic Act number 9340, Republic Act number 10656, and Republic Act number 10923, and for other purposes in connection with the previously scheduled 2017 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataang elections. Best regards, very truly yours, signed, Rodrigo R. Duterte.
Mr. President, as mentioned, pursuant to Section 26, Article 6 of the Constitution, thereby dispensing with the required 3-day rule, copies of the measure have always so been distributed to the members. I therefore move to approve on third and final reading Senate Bill 1584 through a roll call vote.
The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Hontiveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Soberi, Senate President Pimentel.
With 17 affirmative votes, 1 negative vote, 0 abstention. Senate Bill number 1584 is approved on third reading.
We recognize the minority leader, Mr. President.
The minority leader is
Just a
recognized.
manifestation, our explanation for a vote for this on the second reading should be likewise adopted as the explanation of my vote for the third reading, just for the record.
Thank you. Senator Risa Hontiveros, Mr. President.
Senator Hontiveros is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Mr. President, I vote no to another postponement of the barangay and SK elections. I vote no to the postponement of elections based on the flimsiest of reasons, unsubstantiated by evidence, and motivated only by the President's desire and intent to have full control over the barangays. I vote no to holding hostage the legitimate exercise of the democratic rights of our citizens and our youth to choose their barangay and youth leaders. I vote no to stretching too far the mandate of our incumbent barangay officials to the point of compromising their legitimacy and authority to govern. I vote no to continuously allowing a leadership vacuum in the Sangguniang Kabataan, which deprives our youth of engagement in participatory barangay governance and youth development processes, engagement so long and strongly championed by Senators Bam Aquino and J.V. Ejercito. I vote no to wasting the people's money where such valuable resources can be effectively used by the barangays to meet the development needs of their constituents. I vote no because I have faith in our armed forces of the Philippines to put an end to the conflict in Mindanao and its capacity to contain any attempt by armed groups to disrupt the holding of peaceful and orderly elections. I vote no because I trust that the Commission on Elections is prepared, funded, and enabled to administer clean, honest, and credible elections as planned. And finally, I vote no because, unlike the administration, I have confidence that our citizens would use their right to vote to choose the leaders who will serve them best. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank
Mr.
you.
President, I move to adjourn the session on my left.
Senator Villar would have voted in favor of the measure, but she had to leave, Mr. President. And the Senate President Pro Temp has manifested that he will submit an explanation of his vote. May we now recognize Senator Mig Subiri, to take over the chores.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, before we listen to the sponsorship speech of our dear colleague, Senator J.V. Ejercito, I'd like to move to elect. I would like to move to elect with the permission of the body the Senate conferees of the Bicameral Conference Committee on the Disagreeing Provisions of Senate Bill number 1466 and House Bill number 6016, or the Gift Check Act of 2017, which both the Senate and the House of Representatives have already passed on third reading. On the part of the majority, yours truly, Mr. President, as the chairperson of the committee, and members Senator Wing Gatchalian, Senator Cynthia Villar, and Senator Sonny Angara, and on the part of the minority, Senator Bam Aquino. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none.
Gift check by with the permission of the body, Mr. President, I move to transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to the calendar of special order, Senate Bill number 1578, under the committee report number 162. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none.
With the permission of the body, I move to consider Senate Bill number 1578 under committee report number 162. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none.
May we ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure?
The Secretary will read the title of the measure.
An act creating the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, defining its mandates, powers, and functions, providing funds therefore and for other purposes.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, may we ask the Chair of the Committee on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, the Honorable Senator J.V. Ejercito, to be recognized.
Senator J.V. Ejercito is recognized.
Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I stand before you today to sponsor a bill that will forever change our housing and urban development landscape. As we carry on with our task of building safe and secure communities for the Filipino families, this measure will significantly impact the provision of every Filipino's basic right to housing that has long been neglected. As Chairman of the Committee on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, it is my honor to sponsor Senate Bill number 1578 under Committee Report number 162, entitled An Act Creating the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development. This bill is in substitution to Senate Bills numbers 32, 232, 328, 952, 1139, and 1182, authored by Senators Legarda, Drilon, Pacquiao, Angara, Villanueva, Gatchalian, and this representation. The said bills have been considered, studied, and deliberated upon, taking into consideration the inputs from the key shelter agencies, government and private sector representatives, and other stakeholders concerned. Mr. President, for the last 30 years, we have been deprived of a rational and systematic way of addressing our nation's housing needs. While numerous housing programs have been implemented by the government, it seems that these programs are like a type of a house, all single detached. There is no clear integration of programs and plans of the existing key shelter agencies. Mr. President, since the abolition of the Ministry of Human Settlements, the housing sector, from one solid department that seemed like one big meteor, was suddenly blown up in pieces, struggling to make sense of its housing programs with different agencies vying for effective coordination and budget allocation. The dissolution of the Ministry of Human Settlements in 1986 resulted to the creation of the Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, or HUDC, up to the present. HUDC remained as the lead agency for housing and urban development. Even so, if we look closer at HUDC's function and mandate, it only exercised administrative supervision and coordination of the activities of the key government housing agencies in the National Housing Program. HUDC lacks the mandate and organizational setup to manage a national urban and shelter policy. HUDC is a far cry from being that kind of a lead agency expected to perform the humongous task of directing the country's centerpiece program for shelter and poverty alleviation. Considering that the Philippines is emerging as one of the most populous countries in the world, the constitutional provision of providing a continuing program of urban land reform and housing which will make available at affordable cost decent housing and basic services to underprivileged and homeless citizens in urban centers and resettlement areas remain unfulfilled. We continue to be challenged with problems of overcrowding, restrictions in unlocking land for human settlements, lack of an efficient transport system, increasing number of homeless people, and multiplying families living in slums, riverbanks, and danger zones. Currently, Mr. President, the Philippines is facing more than 2 million housing needs for this year and can swell up to 6.5 million by the end of 2022. Natural disasters continue to ravage countryside and flood cities, leaving hundreds of families each year with damaged houses. Recently, the Marawi siege, after being attacked by the ISIS-inspired terrorists, has already caused an estimated 351,168 internally displaced persons. With their houses bombed, one can only imagine the magnitude of houses we must build again while still in the midst of rebuilding for the victims of Typhoon Yolanda, the recent earthquakes, and the almost forgotten Zamboanga siege. Mr. President, my colleagues, I'm positive you will agree with me that now, in our country's history, we need to reiterate that this government must uphold the people's right to adequate, decent, and affordable shelter in safe and secure communities. And the best way to do this is to create the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development that will be more efficient and systematic in addressing the quagmire of issues affecting housing and urban development. A fully fledged department is what our country needs. Mr. President, what we need is one housing department with one board and working towards one direction, creating the roadmap for housing and urban development, leading its implementation, setting the general direction for everyone, and able to follow through in each and every project with clear functions, policies, budget, and financing. The proposed creation of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development will consolidate the administrative functions of the Housing, Urban, and Development Coordinating Council and the planning and regulatory functions of the Housing and Land Use Regulatory Board. The department will act as the sole and main planning and policy making, regulatory, program coordination, and performance monitoring entity for all housing and urban development concerns, primarily focusing on the access to and affordability of decent, affordable, and secure shelter. It shall be composed of the Office of the Secretary, the Bureaus of Policy Development, Coordination, Monitoring, and Evaluation, Environmental, Land Use, and Urban Planning and Development, Housing and Real Estate Development Regulation, and the Homeowners Association and Community Development. Further, regional offices shall be established in the administrative regions of the country. On the other hand, adjudicatory functions of the HUURB will be exercised by the new Human Settlements Adjudication Commission. It shall have exclusive jurisdiction over cases involving housing, land use, and urban development, subdivisions, condominiums, and similar real estate developments, homeowners associations, and those laws that will be implemented by the department. In order to address the disintegration of housing policies and plan as well as reduce the level of bureaucracy, the bill proposed to create a national shelter board. The board will be composed of the Secretary of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, the Director General of the NEDA, the Secretary of Finance, the Secretary of the DBM, Secretary of the DPWH, the Secretary of the DILG, heads of key shelter agencies, specifically the NHA, HGC, National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, Home Development Mutual Fund, and Social Housing Finance Corporation. Currently, the boards of the key shelter agency are operating and meeting separately. The proposed National Shelter Board will rationalize and streamline governing boards of the different shelter agencies to come up with a more holistic and coherent plan for the housing and urban development sector. With the creation of one single board, the mandates of the key shelter agencies will be synchronized and will ease the monitoring of activities and functions of the agencies. Under one housing department, all the key shelter agencies will be compelled to work together more harmoniously and connected in their vision, mission, plans, and programs. An executive committee will be put in place to support the board. To further strengthen the multi-stakeholder participation and partnerships, an advisory council may be organized by the secretary consisting of representatives from the developers association, bankers, contractors, urban poor communities, local government units, academe, and other marginalized groups. With the present reforms, the chaos of our key shelter agencies marching in different directions will definitely end, Mr. President. Mr. President, this proposed legislation will not bring back old wounds and memories because of the stigma attached to the word human settlements. It does not aim to install another layer of bureaucracy, but instead streamline bureaucracy. It is not an added layer for private developers to go through for licensing and permits. This will instead create better systems where there will be less bureaucracy to deal with, and where a one-stop shop processing center will remain a priority. More importantly, Mr. President, the creation of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development is in line with the current thrust of the administration of right-sizing. This proposed department will ensure that there will be clear delineation in the function of the agencies involved in human settlements and urban development, and will result to effective and efficiency of the delivery of service. In closing, I will reiterate, Mr. President, a fully fledged department is what our country needs today. Now is the time to do the right thing. This proposal has been deliberated on in Congress for the last 2 decades. I hope this is the year that we will make it happen for the Filipino people. For the homeless left by Typhoon Yolanda, the residents of Marawi, whose homes have been bombed to pieces, the homeowners of Zamboanga Siege, whose homes were burned to the ground, and for the Lumads and other indigenous people who's living in danger zones, who are demanding better and sturdier homes to shield them from their natural disasters, for the thousands of lowly families waiting to move to the unoccupied government, and to every Filipino family who are dreaming to have their own houses. Mr. President, it is now or never, and it is the author's fervent wish that this august chamber will be the one to deliver to the people this long overdue Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development. By creating a Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, we are not only building houses and physical structures and ensuring that each one has a roof over their head. We are also paving their path out of misery and poverty. We are securing their present needs and the bright future that every Filipino deserves. Wakasan na natin ang panahon na may kanya-kanyang boss sa mga ahensya at kanya-kanyang politika. Tigilan na ang kanya-kanyang pagpaplano at tatakan. Palitan na ang bulok at malabong sistema. Tigilan na ang laging gawa ng pabahay sa mga liblib na lugar para lamang mabulok at hindi matirhan. Mr. President, human settlements and urban development is an investment. An investment to secure every Filipino family in an investment for the country's inclusive and sustainable economic growth. Thus, we must give human settlements and urban planning the proper attention and priority that it deserves, and bring back its stature as a department worthy of being an integral part of our government's machinery and transformation. In light of the foregoing, Mr. President, dear colleagues, I seek your support for this long overdue landmark legislation. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Ejercito. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize Senator Lauren Legarda.
Senator Legarda is recognized.
I simply wanted to thank Senator J.D. Ejercito for hearing this and making it a priority, and for finally sponsoring it as a neophyte senator. This bill has been pending for how many? Two decades, even long before I first became senator in 1998, as principal author of the measure and as an advocate of sustainable housing. So I am grateful that he sponsored it, especially as we had recently heard the budget of the National Housing Authority, who claimed and admitted that 53% of their budget in 6 years from 2011 to 2016 was allocated to homes built but remains unoccupied to date. And I'm referring to AFP-PNP homes or homes for resettlement site of Yolanda, Sendong, and Pablo victims and many more. And at the proper time, I would include, if any, some amendments to further enhance the measure. So congratulations, Senator JV, for this important measure.
I'd like to thank also the lady from Antique, Malabon, our chair of the Secretary of Committee on Finance for the support, and also for passing a measure regarding the creation of the Department of Housing. So I'd like to thank her for the support.
Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I'd like to also thank the sponsor for sponsoring this, and this representation is also filed the bill to this effect, and I would like to insert in the record my sponsorship speech, Mr. President.
The chair takes note.
Mr. President, move that we suspend consideration of the measure to enable our colleagues to study the measure further. So move.
Any objection? Hearing none.
Mr. President, there being no other business to take up, I move that we adjourn session till Monday, September 25. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. The session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Monday, 25 September 2017.